What were your impressions when you first got to Manzanar?
I have to chuckle thinking back on that one. That last part of the journey from Seattle to Manzanar was by bus. We got off the train, and I think there was 3 large travelways or some such name. They weren't Greyhound. Travel something. Buses. The one that I was on, somewheres down the line, maybe a couple hours from the train, developed a problem with the engine or the fuel. It stalled and started again and stalled, and they gave up on it finally. And I think they sent another bus. So we transferred and got onto that second bus. And when we finally hit the campsite, which was still under construction, the Sheikh Mauritani, who happened to be on the same bus, made a comment about, look, these people can walk up the sides of these buildings, because there were footprints on the tar paper. Obviously, a worker had walked on it while it was still flat on the ground, and it was raised vertically later. But there were these footprints going up the side of this barrack that they had built. And we all got a good laugh out of that. Speaking of Sheikh, is he still on the island?
No, he moved to Kingston.
Oh, really?
But he's the only one left of his family now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know that all your brothers and all of you went into the service. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Okay. At evacuation, Nibs was in the service already in Fort Lewis. He was one of those early draftees that you serve your 1 year and you're out. Well, he was anxiously waiting for that 1 year to end, and unfortunately then we had Pearl Harbor, and it kind of ruined that idea. Anyway, they were not discharged, and so he was then transferred out, and I think he ended up in Camp Hood in Texas, someplace like that. And up until that point, he was the only one in service from our family. as time went on, and there was this yes, yes, or no, no type questions that came up about loyalty. And it was just immediately after transferring up to Mendoza. That the effort to recruit volunteers for a special service was brought up. Bill and Keo Nagatani, I think they were buddies somehow from working out in the farm. They both volunteered for the service, and Bill was accepted. For some reason, Keo was not, and I think it was some physical thing that Keo might have had. But so Bill went off to do his little thing, basic, and that was the nucleus of 442. First of all, Ebe in Pullman, he had terrible eyesight, bottle glasses, this type of thing. And so, whether he wanted or not, he wouldn't be accepted for service. But Sage, George, and myself were, the rest of us were still not in service. Now from camp, the three of us, Sage, George, and myself, went out on a farm workers' leave out of camp to an orchard in Mesa, Idaho. And we worked the summer in that apple orchard. There was unfortunately a late frost that kind of reduced the crop outlook for that particular season. And so we salvaged what we could in the parts of the orchard that were not affected by the frost. And did our little thing that way. We worked through late in the fall into processing the apples as such, washing them, sorting them, boxing them, and loading them onto refrigerated freight cars. that was a part of a job that I had. And these bushel baskets is what they had. And to get that freight car exactly with the exact count of baskets of apples that had to be, to call it loaded and full, was almost a puzzle. I'm sure I closed the door on a couple of freight cars that weren't quite exactly full, maybe missing one or two baskets, because I just could not get the lineup as to exactly how it. After a little while, there was no problem at all to get the right count of baskets in these cars. They were refrigerated cars. I don't know where they were on the siding, maybe 2 miles away from the orchard itself. And it was my job to get the finished baskets into the freight cars using a flatbed truck with racks on the side. And it was a real challenge. But one way or another, they got loaded and off, I hope. Also, in that same orchard, because of the frost and the outlook of very, very little in the way of fruit, they tilled some open areas of the orchard and planted cabbage. So early on in the war, I helped the food supply a real little.